So this is just a quick update. I mentioned that I was considering getting something to tide me over till I got the Steam Deck. Well, it turns out I found something. So what I found was this $200 uh, cheapo a Windows 10 tablet, and I got it for one purpose and one purpose only, and that was to be able to play all of my visual novels on the go, including those that were not necessarily designed to be available on a handheld device. And as you can see here from the desktop, it is standard Windows 10. There's nothing special about it. The processor in this thing is an Intel Atom X5Z8300, if I remember correctly. And I looked up the age of this thing. It is a 5-year-old processor, which explains why it's so damn cheap, with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. But everything tends to run pretty darn well. I have to say that I'm very, very impressed. I've only got 3 things installed on it. If we take a look here at the desktop, you can see what they are: Katawa-Shoujo, Firefox, and Steam. And that's it. And as you can see here, Steam runs perfectly fine. If we log in here, we load up a game. For example, if we load up, say, Clanad, let's take a look here. How usable is Steam on one of these tablets? Actually, like I said before, very usable as long as you stick to games that are pretty low in demand, and that historically has been visual novels. So let's take a look here. So with Clanad, you can see that the text is very readable. The text is very readable. The visuals are very readable. However, the menus, if we bring up the menu here, which you can do by a tap and hold, which simulates a right click, the menus are not really readable at all. I just happen to navigate around because I pretty much memorized where everything is in this list, simply by the position of the button. But the menus are not really readable at all. At the same time, you get the save and load points, essentially your bookmarks within Clanad. Those are readable pretty well. These items down here at the bottom I can read pretty well. One of the things that I love about the PC version of Clanad and other keyworks versus what they have on the Switch is that you notice here that I've got 10 of the 100 available save spots already loaded up, okay? 9 of these 10 are choices, so I can go back and change the choice if I need to. The very first one here is in the upper left, spot number 0, is the main story, where I left off in the main story. And you'll notice that I've put a little memo here, and that memo is to remind me of where I am in the story, and I think that that's just fantastic. Now, not all visual novels are created the same. One of the ones that I recently started reading was Maitetsu, which, incidentally, Maitetsu is in an interesting place by itself. And I say this because I'm a major rail fan. I love trains. But I say it's in a place by itself because I managed to snag this on Steam for $5. It's available on the Switch for $20. Okay? I personally think that Steam was a far better deal. We take a look here at the menu options on the left, and I can see those just fine. They're nice and big, and they've actually created the buttons big enough to where I think they had Windows-based touchscreen devices like this little tablet in mind. Although I will say that not everything is all roses. We take a look here at the text. The text is barely readable. And one of the shortcomings of this little PC is I tried to get the magnifier going. Every now and then the game would crash. Apparently the RAM would run out of space or something about threads or something, and the whole business would just crash. When I stopped using the magnifier, that was no longer the case. But it's a real shame because the text is barely readable. In fact, sometimes I have to utilize the bifocals of my glasses to minimize the eye strain. But then these other items here, for things like bookmark, snapping a screenshot, viewing your log, which is effectively like going back through previously read text in a visual novel. So those buttons are really small, and I often mistap them. In fact, the only one I've been able to get on the first try is bookmarks, and that's because it's so big. One of the other problems that I have with it is if you tap up here at the top, if you're playing this on a regular PC and you have a mouse attached, you move the mouse cursor up to the top. Well, that brings up the menu for things like your settings, returning to the title screen, that sort of thing. On this tablet, I have to tap pretty much up at the top, and I can never remember exactly where to tap. And as a result, I end up moving forward a little bit in the text more than I wanted to. And to counteract this, I've had to do the bookmark first and then bring up the menu to save. But it's not a traditional right click, which is really, honestly, rather annoying. Most visual novels do have a right click to bring up the menus. Clanad is an example of this. Most of Key's works are. Another example, and this is not available on Steam, and I've mentioned it before, is Katawa-Shoujo. And Katawa-Shoujo, as you can see, the characters are perfectly presented, very easy to see. The text is easy to read, and if you tap and hold, it brings up your menu. However, even with Katawa-Shoujo, this thing struggles a little bit, which is a bit interesting because with my Tetsu, it doesn't really struggle all that much, and with Clanad, it doesn't struggle at all. And these are pretty low demanding games, but again, the processor in here is 5 or 6 years old. But at the same time, I think that just being able to take these visual novels and hold them in my hand, now you're thinking, well, Switch has some. Switch has Clanad, Switch has Planetarian, Switch has My Tetsu, as I mentioned before. Not all visual novels are available. For instance, one of the visual novels, If My Heart Had Wings, has an addendum to it that's not available on the Switch. And Katawa-Shoujo, because of the way it's licensed, will never be available on the Switch. If you're into visual novels, then Steam is your best bet. And if you want to go portable and you don't want to lug around a PC until the Steam Deck arrives, if you're not willing to spend $1,000 on the competition, I would say one of these little low-end tablets might be your best bet. And you're probably thinking, well, what about the Surface? I personally think that 8 inches is the absolute minimum for me to have a visual novel be readable, but also it's a really wonderful compact size to the point where I'm actually considering the iPad mini, the new one, as a possible birthday gift. Because with the 11-inch iPad that I have, the iPad Pro 2018, even after like just 30 minutes, sometimes it can feel a bit top heavy, and I've heard that with the Surface it's even worse. So I just think that this 8-inch form factor is a really nice size. So I'm very anxious for the Steam Deck, very much excited for it. Will this hold me over? Yes, but because it's one of those super low-end budget tablets, I'm crossing my fingers and seeing how long it'll last. But that's sort of that's an update I wanted to bring you guys. I mentioned that I was looking at doing something, getting a little something to tide me over, and here it is this low-end Windows tablet. Oh, one other thing. Even with these low-end games like these visual novels, like for instance, Katawa-Shoujo only takes up 512 mega RAM, and yet the processor and yet the device still gets warm. And that's because it's passively cooled and it's extremely thin. One of the other really annoying things about this device is the fact that it still uses micro USB. And check this out. Last night, I was reading My Tetsu for about an hour. That usually gets you through a chapter. So I got through a chapter of My Tetsu. It took the battery in this thing from 100 down to 47%. So I went ahead and let it rest for the night. I plugged it in. I didn't plug it in. I just let it rest for the night. And then when I went to plug it in this morning, I checked the battery, and it went from 47 down to 23. So it lost 25% of the battery just sitting overnight, which I think is just silly. But what do you guys think about these low-end tablets? I personally think a visual novel, which again is a low-demanding game, is the absolute limit of what they can do. Oh, I did get Portal to run on this. But yeah, I think that handheld PC gaming, I really think that with the Steam Deck and with these other handhelds coming out, I think it's going to take off. It'll still be a niche, but I think it's going to be a bigger niche than it used to be. But what do you guys think? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.